From Taiwan, I'm Laurel Stewart with the news from here in Taiwan and around the world. A referendum on nuclear power is in the spotlight this week as people are set to vote on the issue on Saturday. Anti-nuclear activists have questioned the legality of the power source in Taiwan, while the pro-nuclear camp says it's necessary for Taiwan as a secure and sustainable energy source. Leslie Liao reports.
What do Taiwan's laws say about nuclear power? The country will hold a referendum this weekend asking voters whether they agree to restart the Ma'anshan nuclear plant in southern Taiwan, which was taken offline in May. This has ignited a discussion over the power source's viability and legality. The ruling Democratic Progressive Party is staunchly anti-nuclear. Opponents of the referendum say that the nuclear plant in question sits on an active fault system, putting it in danger. But on Monday, a group of lawyers got together to discuss the legal basis of nuclear power.
2002年制定了环境基本法，它的23条就很清楚的说，政府要订定计划，逐步达成非核家园的目标。
Then there's the issue of liability in the event of a nuclear disaster.
核子损害赔偿法，它事实上对于核三也是很不合理，就是说它是重大天灾免责。那我们认为说，而且它还有设定说，每一个核子事故赔偿责任最高限额是42亿元。
That cap means affected people within a 30-kilometer radius of the plant would, at most, only receive about $2,300 in compensation. If Taiwan's entire population is ruled victims of the disaster, then everyone in the country would only receive $6 in compensation. In the face of these arguments, though, the opposition is not backing down. The Taiwan People's Party launched a nationwide campaign on Monday urging voters to support nuclear power.
这是台湾能源转型的关键时刻，我们希望所有的台湾人民共同的来参与。台湾的能源政策不能被民进党守旧的意识形态所绑架。台湾人民有权利决定台湾能源政策的未来。
To the pro-nuclear camp, the plant is about energy security and sustainability.
现在台湾的发电是火力全开，白天是80%以上，晚上是90%以上，全部都是碳排的火力发电。
Campaigners on both sides have a few more days to convince the public before votes are cast, deciding the fate of nuclear power in Taiwan. Patrick Chen, John Su, and Leslie Liao for TaiwanPlus.
Just a month after recall campaigns for 24 opposition Kuomintang lawmakers failed, 7 more are facing a vote later this week. And as Tiffany Wong reports, the fight for pro and anti-recall campaigners continues.
The main opposition Kuomintang holds a rally in Taichung in central Taiwan, where 3 of their lawmakers face a vote to remove them. Those whose jobs are on the line are defending themselves, calling the mass recall movement an indiscriminate attack on the opposition party.
因为讲伊有服务做了好也歹，真简单，政党无共，立场无共，所以甲你罢免。8月23，有真侪人认为讲。 过关啦，过关啦！即马上烦恼的，就是咱的出席率。坚强咱家己，去继续留伫立法院，继续来监督，叫一定要顾产业、顾民生。
Just a month ago, 24 KMT lawmakers faced recall votes, but in a massive upset to pro-recall campaigners, they all retained their seats. Public calls to remove lawmakers across party lines started a year ago over the ruling party's inability to pass legislation due to the combined majority of opposition lawmakers. Now the ruling Democratic Progressive Party is involved in the movement, hoping to move voters in their favor.
后礼拜啦，就是咱投票的日子吼，拜托大家一定要出门同意罢免。
拜托大家为了台湾，我们要罢免不适任的立委。
While last month's mass recall votes all failed, the 7 remaining this Saturday are still critical to the battle for power in the legislature. If at least 6 lawmakers are removed and replaced with DPP lawmakers in a by-election, that would give the ruling party the upper hand. But until all votes are in, the fate of Taiwan's legislature is still a toss-up. Howard Zhang and Tiffany Wong for TaiwanPlus.
US President Donald Trump is suggesting Kyiv cede Crimea to Moscow, recognizing a Russian occupation going back to 2014. This could complicate talks with Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky, as EU leaders say that borders must not be changed by force. John Van Trieste reports.
Ukraine can end its war with Russia, quote, almost immediately. That's what US President Donald Trump says, but adds that Kyiv would have to accept Russia's 11-year occupation of Crimea and cede the territory to Moscow. Trump's statement, posted on Truth Social, comes on the eve of another summit to try and end the conflict. And it may complicate talks, as just days ago, most EU leaders signed a statement calling for Ukraine's borders to be respected and not changed by force. Still, Ukraine and its European allies aren't done trying to end the war on terms they can accept. They've been preparing for a meeting in Washington Monday. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky will be there, backed up by European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen and 4 European leaders. For Zelensky, there are 2 important goals. One is a ceasefire, as he says it's impossible to negotiate while fighting. But then there's the need for future security guarantees for Ukraine to make sure Russian troops don't come back. He suggests something like Article 5 of the NATO Charter that states an attack on one member is an attack on all.
And this is our main task. We need security to work in practice, like Article 5 of NATO, and we consider EU accession to be part of security guarantees. And we have heard from President Trump that America and Putin see it the same way. So we talked about the EU accession negotiations.
Some in the U.S. suggest an Article 5-like arrangement could work, though the specifics would need hammering out. Trump's special envoy to Russia, Steve Witkoff, had this to say to Fox News Sunday.
It means that the United States is potentially prepared to be able to give Article 5 security guarantees, but not from NATO, directly from the United States and other European countries. That is big. I mean, really big.
But Russia has long felt bitter about NATO's eastward expansion towards its borders since the 1990s. And some in Russia, including Moscow's envoy to international organizations in Vienna, Mikhail Ulyanov, says Russia needs its own security guarantees. As officials talk peace and security, the war steamrolls on. Footage shows the aftermath of reported Russian shelling in the Ukrainian town of Dobropilya. Local police say the shelling happened Saturday, just around the time of another summit on peace talks between Russian President Vladimir Putin and U.S. President Donald Trump. EU leaders joining Zelensky hope to put on a united front and avoid the hostility from Trump and U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance that abruptly derailed Zelensky's February trip to Washington. With tough questions about Ukraine's future and deep division over how to end this conflict, it's not likely they'll have an easy time. Luffy Li and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
Germany's foreign minister has criticized China for what he calls aggressive behavior in the Taiwan Strait and South China Sea. Johann Wadephul made the comments ahead of a trip to Japan and Indonesia. He says China's behavior in the Indo-Pacific affects Europe by challenging the international order. Tensions have been rising in the region as China sends near-daily jets across the Taiwan Strait and steps up military action in the South China Sea over territorial disputes there. In an era of tightening information controls in China, a new book shows readers how to use open-source intelligence to study and verify information about the Chinese military. Alan Liu spoke to the author for more.
At first glance, these might just look like propaganda. But surprisingly, it's a useful source of information at a time when China is tightening control on data and resources. When he was studying a degree in music, Joseph Wen began marking Chinese military facilities on a map by watching Chinese state media broadcasts. 4 years on, the map has grown to over 7,000 entries and is now a key open-source resource for tracking China's People's Liberation Army activities. With years of experience, he's put out a book that shows, step by step, how to turn scattered pieces of information into a more complete, clear picture of military activity.
其实欧美国家研究解放军，研究公开情报的书，教你怎么用公开情报的书非常多，但是从来没有一本书是如何用公开情报来研究解放军。
One of Wen's most recent findings was the discovery of the POA's new Information Support Force. Beijing founded the force in April 2024, tasking it with joint operations such as combining the military space, cyber, and electromagnetic capabilities. This marks a shift in how China sees its future priorities and the ways it plans to wage modern wars.
那信息支援部队，虽然说不像是海空军甚至是解放军陆军这样子是第一线作战部队，但是如果这些入侵他国的部队或是就是武力犯台的部队没有信息支援部队的资源的话，它是不可能继续接续作战的。所以信息支援部队其实也是扮演非常关键的角色。
With free and simple tools like Google Earth, Joseph Wen shows that gathering information on the Chinese military is no longer limited to government officials or experts. Now, anyone can identify and even debunk China's often cryptic messages about the POA. Joseph Wu and Ellen Liu for TaiwanPlus.
After several delays, the closing submission for the highly publicized trial of pro-democracy businessman Jimmy Lai are set to resume on Monday in Hong Kong. The 77-year-old former owner of the Apple Daily newspaper is charged under Hong Kong's national security law with foreign collusion and the publishing of seditious material. The case was originally set to wrap up last Thursday, but was first delayed by storms and later because of Lai reportedly experiencing health issues. The media mogul has pleaded not guilty, and many world leaders have called for his immediate release. The 2025 World Games in Chengdu, China have officially wrapped up, with Taiwan bagging 15 medals. Our reporter Sandy Chi has the details.
A grand ceremony to mark the end of the 2025 World Games in Chengdu, China, and a celebration for the achievements of Taiwan's top athletes. This year, Taiwan, competing under the name Chinese Taipei, bagged a total of 15 medals, 5 gold, 6 silver, and 4 bronze, ranking 15th among all the participating countries. Among the achievements, the spotlight shines on several gold medals. One highlight is the first gold won in the women's 500-kilogram tug-of-war, a victory that secured the country's 6th consecutive gold medal at the World Games, following a decisive win over Switzerland in the final. The team's coach Guo Sheng says the key to victory is their long-term intense training and their ability to adapt during this competition under rainy weather.
下大雨又打雷，所以我们非常担心选手表现。在下大雨状况下，基本上就打水仗。那也能够在一局一局中慢慢的修正技术、修正动作，谁最早进入状况，那个国家几乎就是冠军。
Aside from the tug-of-war team's consecutive golden victory, another athlete stood out at the Games. Powerlifter Yang Sen, who hails from the country's Taiwan community. Yang won Taiwan's 5th gold medal in the men's equipped super heavyweight category over the weekend. He also set a new world record for equipped squat with the 453.5 kilogram lift. His family in Pingdong, southern Taiwan, say they are grateful for his achievement at the Games.
我们真的很谢谢他的教练啊，让他越来越好，让他越来越进步。也谢谢他的爸爸，没有他爸爸的鼓励，可能我们也不知道会不会有让他有那么好的成绩。也谢谢生我这个妈妈。
This year's success at the World Games not only shines a light on Taiwan's athletic talent, but also highlights the dedication, teamwork, and perseverance behind every medal. With each competition, these athletes will continue to bring pride to Taiwan on the international stage. Eason Chen, Fu Huahong, and Sandy Chi for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. Before we go, let's take a look at this traditional Moroccan festival where thousands of people are celebrating on horseback. I'm Laurel Stewart. Take care and see you next time.